This is episode number 289 of the Middle Country Public Library podcast. Hello and welcome. I'm Sal DiVincenzo in the studio with my fabulous colleagues, Sarah Fade.
Hello.
And Marlena Gonzalez.
Hello.
How's everybody doing?
Great.
So, Marlena, welcome back another week.
Thanks.
But unfortunately, you're not going to be on the show this week. Because I have something special for you, Marlena.
Fine.
I have
What's
something
that?
special. Jim Ward, our resident history buff.
Yes.
So he comes down every now and then, and he does this thing called This Week in History.
Lovely.
And he's going to talk about things that happened this week that you're listening to this
In
episode.
history.
In history that's happened.
Wow.
All the things.
50 years ago?
I think he should make
Is
a
it going to be
fake
a
one.
special 50 year?
And then he should make one fake
And people
this week
have
in
to
history.
figure
and people
out
have to guess
which
which
one.
one it is.
Yes, well, that's possible.
That's
We
a
might
great
have
idea.
that. That might be everything that you hear now coming up might be completely fake. No, but it's not. Because, of course, he's got some things in there about, I don't know, the Civil War.
Lincoln?
Gettysburg.
Probably. So here's me and Jim talking about this week in history. Oh, looky here. Who is sitting in the studio across from me? Why, it's Mr. Jim Ward. Hello, Jim.
How we doing?
We are doing well. Usually, when Jim Ward is in the studio, usually, not all the time, but usually, it means one thing.
This week in history.
So, Jim, as usual, so our listeners know, you have not told me anything about what you're going to discuss today.
Nope, nothing.
And the week that we are looking at, this week in history, is this week, the week you're listening to this episode.
Yes.
So it's August 20th
To the 26th.
to the 26th.
Yep.
So, Mr. Ward, what do you have for us for this week in history?
Alrighty. Well, let's get started.
Let's
I
get
promise
started.
there might be 2 or 3 Civil War things, but we'll
There might be 5 or 6. This might.
but we'll go through them, and
Okay.
I think you'll be very happily satisfied with the diversity of events.
I'm very excited.
All right, so let's start. August 20th, 1781.
Okay.
George Washington begins to move his troops south to fight Cornwallis, and this would eventually lead to the surrender in October of Cornwallis's forces down south, which would effectively end the Revolutionary War.
Very good.
So there
so
we
it's
go.
a summer battle.
Summer battle.
Summer battle.
Couple months battle.
Yeah.
Into the fall a little bit.
Oh, okay. All right. It's like battles today are battles, not wars, but battles today I feel like are pretty short, relatively compared to like where there were battles were like months long or weeks
Yeah,
long,
because back then you had like sieges, and
Yeah.
it took long, and also it took
Literally.
longer to
Yeah,
move things,
exactly.
and
You're
so
right. Horses and buggies and such. So
Exactly.
interesting. Okay, so that was August 20th.
August 20th. And
right.
August 20th, 1866, President Andrew Johnson formally declares the U.S. Civil War over.
So it was Johnson who declared the Civil War over.
Yes.
Interesting.
So the war had effectively ended in April 1865 when Robert E. Lee surrendered to Ulysses S. Grant. And then some fighting went on for a couple months, and it was finally, over after that. But I guess maybe trying to plan like readmittance to the Union and stuff like that. I guess there were still things that had to be taken care of. So I guess it took over a year for it to finally officially be over.
Yeah, and again, bringing it back to today, about a war ends, a peace treaty is signed, you find out immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm sure there's people on the internet who find out before the people in the battlefield sometimes.
I'm sure, yeah.
But back then, it took days and maybe weeks for people to realize that the war was over.
Right. I mean, look at Juneteenth.
Yeah, exactly.
The people they were in
They had
Texas
no idea.
and they had no clue about the Emancipation Proclamation or anything.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how long it took for information to flow.
Exactly. All right. Very good.
All right. So August 20th, 1896, the dial telephone was patented.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
I'm guessing the old
rotary. The
rotary.
rotary
Yeah,
phone.
the old
Yeah.
rotary one.
Yes.
August 20th, 1920, the first commercial radio station began in Detroit, Michigan.
1920.
1920.
Not that long ago, 100 years.
Isn't that
103
something?
It's not that long ago.
And now
yeah.
we have satellite
I
radio
know,
and
it's
everything.
crazy.
It's crazy.
Now we can listen to
Technology
anything on our
just
phones.
Oh, it's something else.
Yes.
Let's see, August 20th, 1940, Winston Churchill makes the speech, "Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few." He was referring to the ongoing efforts of the Royal Air Force, who were fighting, at the time, they were fighting the Battle of Britain, the pivotal air battle between the German, I always say this word weird,
Luftwaffe.
Luftwaffe, is that how you say
Luftwaffe.
it? Luftwaffe, as Britain was expecting an invasion. Since this famous speech, the British Royal Air Force pilots who fought in the battle have been known as the Few. August 21st, 1858, the first Lincoln-Douglas debate in Illinois. That was the campaign between Abraham Lincoln and Stephen Douglas for Senate in Illinois. They had a series, I think it was like 6 or 8 debates, mostly about the institution of slavery. Lincoln obviously was against it. Stephen Douglas was for it, and apparently the debates were printed and everything, and they say that's what kind of catapulted Abraham Lincoln to national recognition and eventually the presidency.
You had to bring Lincoln into this, huh?
I had to.
You had to. Lincoln had to be there somewhere.
No matter what, I find a way.
You find a way to bring Lincoln in, yes.
Let's see. This one was interesting, I found. August 21st, 1911, the Mona Lisa was stolen in France by Vincenzo Perugia, a Louvre employee. It was a police theory that the former Louvre worker hid inside the museum on Sunday, August 20th, knowing the museum would be closed the following day. But according to Perugia's interrogation in Florence after his arrest, he said he entered the museum on Monday, August 21st, around 7 a.m., through the door where the other Louvre workers were entering. 28 months after he snatched it from the Louvre, Perugia finally made a pass at selling the Mona Lisa to an art dealer in Florence, but the dealer was suspicious. He had the head of an Italian art gallery come to take a look at the painting, and a stamp on the back confirmed its authenticity.
Oh my goodness!
They said, "Okay, leave it with us, and we'll get you that. We'll see that you get your reward." But so Perugia went back home, but a half an hour later, to his surprise, the police were at the door. So,
surprise!
Yeah, it's like, what did you expect? You think that people won't know that it's the real Mona Lisa? I mean, come on. August 21st, 1931, Yankees slugger Babe Ruth becomes the first Major League Baseball player to hit 600 career home runs as the Yankees defeat the St. Louis Browns 11-7 at Sportsman's Park.
Wow.
Yeah, imagine that, 600. That was a lot back then.
Sportsman Park, back before there was corporate sponsorships.
Yeah.
Just like Baseball Park.
Yeah. They were a little more, the names
generic.
were... Yeah, but the names were better than, T-Mobile Arena or whatever
exactly,
they are, August 21st, here you go, August 21st, 1942, Walt Disney's animated movie Bambi, based on the book by Felix Salten, is released.
Oh.
So Bambi was, 81 years ago.
1942.
Isn't that something?
It's amazing.
August 21st, 1959, President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed a proclamation admitting Hawaii to the Union as the 50th state.
People don't realize how not long ago that happened, right?
Yeah, it's true. It really wasn't that long ago in the whole scheme of things.
In the scheme of things, yeah.
It's something else.
Yeah.
And you know who the 49th state was?
Was it Alaska?
It sure was.
Okay.
It sure was. Well done.
Yes. Well, I figured it was, if Hawaii was the last one. So.
They were the last two holdouts.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
All right, I guess we'll do it.
America.
Like it was a hard decision.
Yeah, exactly.
August 21st, 1987, Dirty Dancing is released, starring Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey. And we all remember Nobody Puts Baby in the Corner.
Nobody puts baby in the corner.
No. And then the famous dance scene at the end with the lift.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then 19 years later, on August 21st, a new trial against Saddam Hussein begins. He and 6 co-defendants are being tried on genocide charges for their role in the 1980s campaign, Operation Anfal, in which 100,000 Kurds were killed. If convicted, he was facing the death penalty, which eventually he ended up being convicted of that. Yeah. He was sentenced to death on November 5th, 2006. And I believe it was like December 30th or 31st of that year that he was eventually hanged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was interesting in the sense that up until that point, I don't know if I paid attention to Saddam Hussein's voice.
Right? It's funny. You never heard his voice.
You never really heard his voice.
No.
He was always on the news and never heard him talking because obviously they would dub, in English or whatever.
Right.
but to actually see, I think it was CNN or one of the was showing some of the trial and not dubbing over it, just letting and the voice did not go with the face for me.
Right? You expected a more like
Deeper kind of
and sinister.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like, ha, ha, ha. I was like up there.
It's like, this is the guy everyone's scared of? Let's see. August 22nd, 1902, Cadillac was started in Detroit.
Oh.
Related to cars, August 22nd, 1902, U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt became the first U.S. chief executive to ride in a car.
The first to ride in a car.
Look at that.
And hopefully in our lifetime, we'll see it's like the first president to fly to the moon, and to go to the moon and,
that would be
visit
pretty
the
funny.
moon, right? I mean,
You never know. Maybe to
You never
Mars.
Well, Mars, maybe not in our lifetime, but the moon, I feel like in the moon.
The moon is doable.
President will do, the president should do the moon.
He should do his
should
State
do
of the
that.
Union
From the moon.
from the moon.
Yes.
That would be great.
That'd be great.
Let's see. August 22nd, 1921, J. Edgar Hoover becomes assistant director of the FBI, and eventually he would become the director of the FBI. And I don't think he got along with the Kennedys very well or
Not
something.
well at all, no.
No. So there was all that drama. August 22nd, 1984, Mets pitcher Dwight Gooden becomes the 11th rookie to strike out 200.
Doc Gooden.
That he was great.
That was my my time. That was
Yep.
my team when I was into baseball.
Oh, you
when
were
I
a
was
Mets
kid.
fan, huh?
I was a Mets fan.
Look at you.
Yeah, that was my team.
And see, I ended up, becoming a Yankees fan.
Yeah.
And 10 years later, I got to watch both of them be on the Yankees.
Exactly.
Darryl
yeah.
Strawberry and Dwight Gooden. So
And Cohn went to the
and David
Yankees,
Cohn.
yeah,
Yep,
yeah, so-
love David Cohn.
Yeah, he was great.
He was terrific. August 22nd, 1992. I kind of vaguely remember this because it was around the time I was 10 years old in Disney World.
Oh.
But Hurricane Andrew strikes the
yeah.
Bahamas, Florida, and Louisiana.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
That was a big one. I remember that.
That was devastating. Many towns and cities were just kind of flattened.
Yeah. It was a terrible storm.
Yeah, awful.
August 23rd, 1927, Italian immigrants Nicola Sacco and Bartolomeo Vanzetti were electrocuted inside a prison at Charlestown, Massachusetts. They had been convicted of a shoe factory payroll robbery during which the paymaster and a guard had been killed. Following their convictions, all appeals for a new trial had failed, despite the lack of hard evidence and a later admission by a known criminal that he had participated in the robbery with an organized criminal gang. The days and weeks leading up to their execution aroused worldwide protests amid accusations of unfair treatment because they had radical political views and they were Italian. So I don't know much about that one,
Yeah,
but that
that's
sounds
interesting. Yeah,
that sounds pretty controversial.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Yeah.
August 24th, 79 AD.
Okay, now we're reaching there, Jim.
Vesuvius, an
Wow.
active volcano in southern Italy, erupted and destroyed the cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum. That's when
That's what
Pompeii was
happened. Pompeii.
destroyed. Yeah, and now it's they found it. It's
Yeah.
preserved, and it's kind of eerie when you think about it because
Yeah, because people were preserved in the positioning in the area that they were, and there's some sad things
oh
happening.
yeah, definitely. August 24th and 25th, 1814. During the War of 1812, Washington, D.C. was invaded by British forces that burned the Capitol building, the White House, and most other public buildings, along with a number of private homes. The burning was in retaliation for the earlier American burning of York, which I guess eventually was named Toronto.
That is pretty remarkable when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
That
Could you
literally
imagine
the
that
city was
happening?
burning.
It's like,
yeah.
it's
yeah.
wild.
Yeah, it is wild. Yeah.
You can't even imagine that happening.
No, you can't. No, nowadays you can't.
But thankfully, we repelled them and we won that war.
Yeah.
Sure did. August 24th, 1891, Thomas Edison patents the motion picture camera.
Edison has done a lot of things. It's interesting you brought it up because just earlier this month, the incandescent light bulb was, I guess, made illegal.
Oh, I saw that, yeah.
And that was one of Edison's, major
Mhm.
contributions. But you don't realize
Yeah.
all the things that he did.
And everything that affects our life today.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
something.
there is a very good chance
That it wasn't him.
That it wasn't him. But he was, I guess, the guy who pushed it, the leader who pushed it first,
Right.
Pushed it out there. But,
Well, it's like the light bulb. They say Tesla invented the light bulb, not Edison or
yeah, exactly.
But who knows? It's like
Yeah.
he said, she said, know. August 25th, 1944, Paris is liberated. So that was after the D-Day invasion 2 months prior, and they had eventually marched their way to Paris, and finally they were liberated. Let me see. What else do I have? August 25th, 1985. I never heard this before. Samantha Smith died in an airplane crash in Maine. In 1982, the 11-year-old American schoolgirl had written a letter to Soviet Russia's leader, Yuri Andropov, asking, "Why do you want to conquer the whole world, or at least our country?" To her surprise, Andropov replied personally to her and offered an all-expense-paid trip to the USSR. She toured Russia for 2 weeks amid worldwide publicity and came to symbolize American and Russian hopes for peaceful coexistence.
But she died in a plane crash.
Sadly.
Oh, wow.
But I never heard that story
I never heard
before.
that story. No, it's very interesting. Yeah.
August 25th, 2005, Hurricane Katrina makes landfall in Florida 4 days before striking New Orleans.
Katrina.
Yeah, that's 18 years ago. That's crazy.
I can't believe that's 18 years ago. That's ridiculous.
Amazing.
That feels like that just happened.
Yep. It's so bizarre.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
August 26th, 1883, one of the most catastrophic volcanic eruptions in recorded history occurred on the Indonesian island of Krakatoa.
Wow.
Explosions were heard 2,000 miles away. There were tidal waves 120 feet high. 36,000 people were killed on nearby islands.
36,000 people.
With 5 cubic miles of earth blasted into the air up to a height of 50 miles.
Wow.
Crazy.
And what year was that?
1883.
So 1883, imagine the population, what it is then.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine the population now.
Yeah.
How catastrophic. I mean, it's catastrophic
yeah.
back then, but how ridiculously.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
It would have been so much more.
than 36,000.
It's incredible. It's like you can't even fathom that.
No, can't.
Here's a more positive one.
Okay.
August 26, 1920, the 19th Amendment guaranteeing women the right to vote is formally adopted. U.S. Secretary of State Bainbridge Colby certifies the 19th Amendment, giving women the constitutional right to vote. It was first proposed in Congress in 1878, and the amendment did not pass the House and Senate until 1919.
And again, it's something that today we look at it and it's like, are you kidding?
Yeah,
You know,
like why did it take so long?
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, that is fantastic
Nice
information.
nice and diversified, right?
Nice. You did very well. I mean, you got your Civil War in there, you got your Lincoln in there, but it was very good. No, it's we enjoy these episodes very much, Jim, and we appreciate you coming down and talking to us about history and things that happened this week, many moons. Yes, many moons ago.
I appreciate it.
Well,
it's a fun time.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, there you have it. Mr. Ward was here. He did his thing. He talked about Lincoln. He talked about the Civil War, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So there you have it. Another great episode. And if you want to listen to older episodes or read our show notes, you have to visit our website, mcplpodcast.com. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Last week, Marlena actually wrote us a fantastic review, didn't you, Marlena?
I did.
Okay.
It was well deserved.
Yes. So what you need to do is you need to hit that review button and give us a review. 5 stars is always great. You don't have to give us 5 stars, but it works with the algorithm and it makes us, I guess, appear more often in those.
Popular.
More popular, yes.
Popular.
So, yes. So that we like. So, so do that and we greatly appreciate it. So thank you so much for listening. For Sarah Fade and Marlena Gonzalez, I'm Sal DiVincenzo. We'll see you on the next show.